Angus Young, how you doing?
Good, Becko.
The Offspring.
How's it going, Becko?
Dave Grohl, how you going, mate?
Good, man.
Pete, it's been a long time coming.
Oh, Becko, hasn't it indeed?
We go inside the dressing room, speak to the biggest names in music,
Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones.
and crack open their esky.
That's exactly how I imagine you, by the way, sitting opposite me with a vodka and orange.
You're a discerning chap. This is The Rider.
Hey, it's Becko. Welcome back to The Rider. Many, like me, are recovering after a huge weekend at Soundwave. It's always a massive weekend, whether you go to the Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane shows. A lot of anticipation about Tool coming back. Bands like Tonight Alive. Even James Rain. A lot of my mates in my friendship group are quite excited about seeing James Rain on a big stage. But, well, this was where the story was at after the first show in Melbourne for Soundwave. Shirley Manson from Garbage, who I love, by the way. I think Garbage would be my top 5 when it comes to bands. Shirley's famous rant about beach balls.
Like, it literally makes me want to beg people to go over there and punch you in the face. Oh, you're getting rid of the balloon now? Yeah, you big dudes. Wow, oh my God, you're so cool. It's just so outrageously cool. I can't go over it. Wow. It's disrespectful, and musicians have had enough, and we're fed up of not getting.
You're playing a festival, Shirley, come on.
To play for douchebags like you. You're a middle-aged man in a ridiculous hat.
Fair.
And you're a face. And I literally want to ask people to punch you in the face.
Wow.
I'm a lady, so I won't. But if truly, violence is not the answer.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Mess you up, and you know what? I won't, because I pity you, because you're a small man with a small dick.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I love Shirley, seriously. On Twitter and now on Facebook, Shirley Manson is just such great value. So look, make sure you catch Garbage on their side shows, by the way, happening right around the country. They are mostly sold out already. But well done again to the team behind Soundwave. You've done it. What an amazing weekend it was.
This is The Rider.
Right, this week on The Rider, it's time to catch up with one of those great bands of the noughties. And when you think about this song really was one of the great moments of 2006. The band Augie March were destined for greatness. They were on the cusp of something massive. And then in 2006, this came out with the album Moo, You Bloody Choir. It's been 20 years. And it gave them a Triple J Hottest 100 #1 and then a moment in history. The album is 20 years old. You might have known this song. And Augie March are going to be touring right across the country April next year to support this album on its 20th anniversary. It's going to be massive, and they're going to play the album in full, and it's going to be quite a challenge for them because a lot of songs aren't easy to do, and probably the first time they played some of those songs live as well. So let's bring him up. Let's have a chat with Glenn Richards, the lead singer of Augie March. Hey, Glenn, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Happy to be here.
Yeah, very happy to have you because, talk about 20 years of this great album, Moo You Bloody Choir, but also 30 years, really, of the band as well.
30, yeah, that's about correct. Maybe even a bit more, which is wonderful, not depressing.
No. And look, we all age gracefully and we all become better musicians, don't we?
This is true. We don't lose anything.
Is it like getting back on a bike? Like, do you feel like you sort of, you probably match fit and sort of adjust pretty quickly, or do you have to do a lot of rehearsals?
Well, I mean, if I hadn't, I've just done a solo tour, so if I hadn't have done that, the answer would be a flat no. But having got out there and had to face the people, it all came back to me pretty well. As far as this record, though, we haven't started rehearsing for it yet. Obviously, it's a fair way off. There's definitely a few there that I wouldn't have a clue how to even approach. I just don't have the muscle memory for them or any videos of myself playing them, which is sort of how I remember most of the songs these days. So it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, half the record we've been playing for a long time, but the other half is the dark side of the moon.
Well, this is the danger about doing an album tour because people these days expect you to do the album in full or at least spread it around the set. But also you're playing live songs you probably never played before because you might there are songs on an album you might skip when you're on a tour, and now because it's a celebration, you've got to do it.
Yeah, this is it, and obviously we will do it start to finish like the record. I think probably the main thing that we've started discussing it already is how we go about bringing something relevant to it, which is, to my mind, is just playing with a bit of looseness and maybe reinterpreting them to a degree, not doing them any disservice. People want to hear it kind of like it is, and I'm cool with that. But like you say, a lot of them we barely played since we recorded them in the studio when we were young guys, and didn't even know that was how they were supposed to go at the time. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Well, look, let's go back to this. So 2006. It must have been a huge adjustment because you guys sort of had a following on the road, and I think you sort of, it was around 2000. That album then was a Sunset Studies. I think that's when you started to sort of pick up a bit of momentum and everything. But
yep.
But 06 was another level. I mean, you had a Hottest 100 #1. I mean, that's massive.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it sort of happened at the same time too. I think we won the AMP award and a few other things, a few APRA awards, and it was all grouped together. That's the way I remember it anyway. But I was sort of, I was a little distant from a lot of it. I remember being, I think we were driving around, just my partner and I driving around the hinterlands out the back of the Gold Coast. And occasionally I'd get a message from somebody saying, they haven't called it yet, so it doesn't look like we're even in it. And then it just got closer and closer. And I was at an airport. I was changing in the car park, changing clothes, and actually listened to it on the radio. It was pretty mad. But only Dave and Ed were there to accept the award, and I kind of wish I had been there. So it all felt a bit sort of, a little bit remote to me.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. When you're in studio, you literally can pop some champagne or a Melbourne bitter and whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's. I guess you just got to be there. And then the thing is too. I mean, the very next day, you just, life goes on. You keep moving, and you go to gigs, and you probably have a lot more people sing along to those songs that you never did before.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think without I'll probably get boring on this, but the other thing was like you say, we'd been sort of building for years and years just by playing gigs and trying to get to that next venue, really. We just looked at it like that. We want to play the punters next, and then we want to play the corner and that sort of thing. So while it was really exciting for, to get those prizes, and we probably underestimated what they meant at the time, it was just another, all right, we've been steadily building. Why wouldn't we keep building? But that was naive, of course. So we should have, I mean, you always say this, people always say it, you should have enjoyed it a lot more than perhaps what we did.
But everyone talks about, the van life days are the days you always look back to as a mature musician and just go, those were the best fun.
Yeah.
And you might not have been able to afford a van. You might be living in the back of a Commodore or something, station wagon. But yeah, they always say that is the best time that you'll never, ever get back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all novelty, isn't it? And I mean, even if you're not doing that stuff when you're young, right through probably to your late 20s, there's a lot that's novel in the world. And, if you get the chance to travel and do weird stuff like that, that was sort of the biggest impulse for me was to, just avail myself of these possibilities and, and hopefully either do it for free or, maybe even get paid to do it. That kind of worked out to a degree. So, yeah, absolutely. You look back on it. But I think everybody looks back on the youth and goes, I wish I'd had, maybe another 10 years of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What was your first overseas tour like? Because I know this particular album, you recorded a lot of it overseas in the States.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that sort of tour like to finally get out of the Oz circle and get over there?
Yeah, look, it's a hard one to sort of. I think we went to the States 3 times, and because it was sort of compressed into a period, I tend to get them mixed up. But I know that the first one, we probably because we played with some good bands. It was Gomez and we might have even snuck a Wilco one in there. Maybe that might have been the second time around. It doesn't matter. We were with good people and we were playing to good audiences and seeing a lot of America. And again, it was all novel. Everywhere we went was like a new country, each state, each city. And we discovered that over there, people beyond a certain age didn't stop going to see music. And I think that's happening a lot more in Australia in the last 20 years. The generations are, they're not giving up. They're still coming out and seeing it, seeing new stuff. But that was a revelation. And also just, stuff that but until you sort of experience it, talking to American bands there, and they could, they'd tell you, we barely leave this state, At most we'll go to a couple of states next to us and we can sustain a career here. Whereas in Oz, you know what it's like. You basically got a chance to go around the country maybe twice a year. And that's how you got to try and do it in Australia. So a lot of things that we learned about, I guess probably after 3 times we figured out that you got to actually live there if you're going to do anything serious. And this is pre-internet.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. People go over and they sort of have a base wherever it might be. Like usually it's LA, and play all the venues across the city, and then might tour across the country. And yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's very hard to do it from Australia.
Yeah, for sure.
And same with when you're in Australia starting off. I'm guessing you were just doing the Melbourne to Sydney, Melbourne to Brisbane, up and down the coast kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had cause to sort of think back on that a couple of weeks ago in Newtown. I got to spend a couple of days there and play a beautiful, dirty pub and, catch up with people that I first met when we, the first time we went to Sydney, which was one of my favourite things that we'd done. It was it's the first proper tour, and like you say, the Tarago and heat and beer and fun. And this was kind of like revisiting that, but it was quite genuine at the same time. It was a bit of a mad sort of evening, and people were up for it. I guess we all age at the same time. The audience comes along and they kind of want it as much as you do to be like it was. But that sort of sounds a little bit self-defeating. I think there's if you stick around and you keep making music, then people appreciate that a lot more than just having that one record that might have had some impact and revisiting that constantly.
Well, but luckily, your era though too was when albums were special. Like certain bands had a skill at putting out a great album, just like you guys did, and other bands didn't. They were sort of singles, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and they're probably better built for these days. Where you just drop songs, but I don't know. I find that pretty hard to shake, that habit of writing for a body of work, whether it all hangs together or not. It's just I think it's a beautiful way to present it, and fortunately, most of the audience that we have still hanging around like that as well. So
yeah, exactly. Now, one crowded hour. Now, tell me the story of where you recorded that one, as far as you remember. Was that San Fran, or was that Chicago?
It was.
Yeah,
actually, it was Chicago because we were staying in the Tenderloin area. Man, I always struggle to remember the name of the studio, but it was where Creedence recorded most of their big records. They might have even had a stake in it eventually. But it was just a great little room. We'd walk from the hotel about a mile, and it was a heavily homeless sort of district. It was it was one of those kind of depressing but completely alive sort of places as well. That it's about as seedy as it gets, but pretty exciting place for young fellas to be recording and dodging the worst of it, thankfully. But it fed into. I mean, we were tour hardened at the time. We'd done a couple of months through America and had this week off, and had Eric Drew Feldman from Captain Beefheart overseeing the recording, which was just a matter of chance and spontaneity. And he was a lovely man, and it just came together nicely. We did 2 or 3 songs there, and one of them happened to be One Crowded Hour, and we'd had a chance to play it a bit, so it had some legs, it had some juice, and the result is there.
Did you think it was something special?
Not personally. I knew it was a good progression, and it had a really good form, and I think it was probably just I just thought of it because I'm a deeply self-critical sort of person, and I just thought of it as another well-built drama that I was going to regret, writing because I'd have to sing it.
You got to do it live. That's right.
But because it's so well put together, it's actually not that difficult for me to revisit, and sometimes I can do a version of it, particularly solo, that knocks my own socks off. So I don't regret that one at all.
Well, just everything changed from that moment, and look, I know I was sort of watching a little very old self-produced documentary almost of I think it was 2004, and it just sort of documented everything that happened from I guess 1996 and 98, and you were sort of saying in that the band felt possibly cursed, like you had sort of you get a bit of momentum and there'd be a fallout between producers and engineers, and there'd be management issues.
Yeah.
And you were on BMG, and I know BMG and Sony merged, so that must have worried you at the time as well.
Yeah, I mean, to give you a sort of an idea of where that was at, when I played in Sydney recently, the 2 guys that we worked with at BMG came to the show, and they keep in touch, and because they've got a real emotional stake in the development of the band. They did the first 2 albums, and we were in the middle of basically writing and getting the 3rd one up when Sony basically bought BMG, and we ended up on this completely different label with completely different people. And I mean, I know they did their best, but it was a bad fit. And you've heard this story a million times. It's when that happens with bands at a crucial period. Unless the band is very resilient, which I don't think we were at the time, then shit falls to pieces and you go backwards. But that's it. That's just in that whatever that doco was. I do remember us putting together scraps of stuff and getting a mate to edit it for us. But if I was complaining like that back then, geez.
Well, I mean, it would have been tough because I know sort of how poppy, particularly around that time. I mean, it was the Britney Spears era, and so Sony was straight down pure pop with their catalog, and I know recent times Sony have got a lot of great indie artists, and it's a bit different now, but certainly in your day, you wouldn't have known where you were going to fit, and they probably didn't know how to sell you either, probably.
Yeah, I mean, they did have, they had Murmur, so, something for Kate and quite a few bands there, friends of ours, but that, you're right, that period had sort of passed, and the people who worked with those bands at Sony, I think, were either, working with them in a different realm, or, maybe had quit Sony and taken on whatever. But you're right, it was kind of like back to the typical major label that you would read about or hear about for quite a while there. And obviously, things came to light a few years later and they cleaned up their act. But yeah, I guess we were sort of they had plenty of resources, but it would have been nice to see what happened if BMG and Augie had a chance to develop it and maybe take it to Europe and that sort of thing. So that's a different course that that we probably would have preferred.
And after Sunset Studies, I think it was, you lost Rob Dawson, key member of the band in the car accident. And you were probably preparing for your second album after that, and you obviously the crossroads and go, well, where do we go from here? But it's one of those moments in a band, just like losing a family member. You're probably just never quite the same after that.
Yeah, well, I mean, importantly, Rob was my mate from outside the band, so it was a bit more of a. It wasn't like he was just a bloke that we'd auditioned and he came in. It was a very sort of organic thing, and it definitely knocked us around for a long time, and informed a lot of what sort of went on from that period. I'd have to say, not handling that very well probably fed into handling a few other things very well career-wise. So it's definitely a point, and I mean, I'm glad that we survived it. A lot of bands would shut up shop, I think. So
and many do walk away because they just can't click after that. And I know that it just would have affected your music probably in your songwriting. Like, you are the main songwriter, so how do you handle that pressure? Because it's all on you, just at least to get started.
I mean, one of the things that I was looking forward to more than anything was Rob's songwriting contribution, because he had that, and that was what was missing, was a bit of a counterpoint. So many great bands have that second writer, sometimes 3 or 4 writers, and in our case, I think that would have made a hell of a difference to where we went and where I went with my songwriting, because he was a bloke that I could actually sit down with and do that sort of thing. And, there's not too many. I'm not a great collaborator as far as that goes. So, pretty unfortunate on a number of levels, but that's the least of them, It was just a really horrible time.
And I'm sure years later, as you're up for 5 arias for an incredible album, you would have probably loved him to be there and experience that too.
Yeah, that's right. And, I know that we would have probably made a better record than that. So, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is a real celebration. And only doing a handful of shows around the country. You got Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne and Brisbane. Those dates are all online. And but you must be really excited just to get back on stage with your mates.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a Sydney, but it's part of a sort of a larger announce, more of not a festival, but I mean, for some ridiculous reason, I can't say what it is.
That's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you come to Sydney, we're happy. But yes.
Yeah, Sydney's definitely happening, and it might even be first cab off the rank. And we're talking about, later in the year, possibly going and doing a regional version of it, doing the larger regional cities and some towns. So it might have some legs, but for the time being, it's probably the only way that we can justify, getting out to cities and states that we haven't been to for a long time. It's just there's a real reason to do it, and we can probably make it work financially and all that sort of thing, because getting around this country is even harder these days.
Oh yeah. And you got to do your maths, and you got to figure out, okay, we need so many people and so many venues just to break even.
Yeah, it's madness, and I guess this is as part of the motivation for doing it is, it means that we'll be able to get over to Perth and maybe, who knows what happens sales-wise, but, maybe we look at going there again and doing a Freo or something. I don't know. We'll see.
You got some history there, Freo. Were you literally working on the docks? Because I did read that.
No, I should probably maintain that. But it was just something I told the person at Rolling Stone.
It's such a great story, though.
Well, yeah, I think I just read a couple of things. I think it was Elvis Costello's manager or something, or maybe even Elvis himself, just talking about, if you get the opportunity to talk to the press, manufacture some myths, it's a shortcut to getting, some interest from, the media that's beyond, what did you have for breakfast? And it kind of worked. We're still talking about it.
It's so true, though. But it does, like, you do these interviews, and I've done it before where I've had someone in the studio and you just have a chat and you talk about things and you're not sure if it was accurate or not. And all of a sudden, it gets picked up by, Rolling Stone or something overseas, and then it's like picked up by everyone, by accident.
And you have to live the lie, but as long as you make it interesting enough. I mean, it sounded kind of plausible. I think I got married at 15 or something like that. I'm not sure that that's legal, but people seem to accept that.
Yeah. No, it's going to be talked about rather than the other way around. So, Well, mate, Glenn, it's so good having a chat, and appreciate the time, mate, and look forward to the tour. So it's all kicking off in April next year, celebrating 20 years of Moo You Bloody Choir, and 30 years of Augie March as well. So great to catch up, and we'll see you around the country next year.
Good on you, man. Thank you.
There is Glenn from Augie March. I can't believe it's been 20 years since that absolute masterpiece, Moo You Bloody Choir, and One Crowded Hour. Catch him on tour in April, starting off in Freo. April 5, Freo Social, then the Gov in Adelaide, the Croxton Melbourne, the Trifford in Brisbane, and a sneaky Sydney show we don't know anything about yet. This is The Rider with Becko. Give it a follow on Instagram, @RiderPod, and of course, favourite on your Spotify or Apple. Next week, a very special guest. I'll make it a secret for now. Catch you then. This is The Rider with Becko.